A few months ago, when the Atlanta Falcons hired Raheem Morris over Bill Belichick, I thought that it was the wrong decision. I really did. Because Raheem Morris flamed out his first go around as a head coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And although you can say that Bill Belichick might have been washed, he may not be as good as a head coach as what he was with the New England Patriots, this man is a 8-time Super Bowl champion. It wasn't all his reasoning for why things end up souring in New England, because Robert Kraft was kind of having his hands in the cookie jar a little bit too much, handicapping Bill Belichick. But instead, you choose to go with Raheem Morris, a guy that hasn't proven to win anything at the NFL, over a guy that is arguably the greatest head coach in the history of football. It was always an insane decision to me, because the Falcons' biggest issues is on the defense side of football. Bill Belichick is one of the greatest defensive minds ever. Do you not see how much the Patriots' defense has declined ever since they fired Bill Belichick? Bill Belichick had a top 10 defense last year in New England with the same players. All he missed out on was hiring the right offensive coordinator and drafting the right players. But in the Atlanta Falcons case, though, you don't have to worry about Bill Belichick mismanaging the personnel offensively, because you already had a team that was built to win. The Atlanta Falcons' expectations coming into this season was not to rebuild. It was not to miss the playoffs. They were favorites to win the NFC South. And yet, here you are, 6-7, in the same situation that you were last year, damn near, with Arthur Smith. The thing about Raheem Morris is that the Atlanta Falcons fell in love with the person, and they didn't necessarily understand the coach that they were getting. You see, Raheem Morris, when you interview coaches like him that are really good speakers, that when you talk to him, he gets you really motivated. It's easy to buy into him being a good coach and overlooking the obvious issues. Bill Belichick isn't one of those, super happy-go-lucky guys. He's going to keep it real. He's going to say, enough to appease the media without giving up too much. And, he may be a grumpy old guy, but Bill Belichick is a hell of a football coach. And if I was going to gamble on the fired coach, I'd rather gamble on the greatest head coach in NFL history than gamble on a guy like Raheem Morris. Andy Reid got fired by the Philadelphia Eagles, and look what he's doing now in Kansas City. Pete Carroll got fired, his first head coaching job, and look what he did with the Seattle Seahawks. Great coaches that have the track record that Bill Belichick has are worth taking a gamble on versus gambling on a guy like Raheem Morris that only had one winning season in Tampa Bay and a bunch of losing seasons. And look, history repeats itself. A lot of second chance head coaches don't end up working out, and we're seeing the same situation play out with Raheem Morris, because the Falcons aren't good defensively, and he's supposed to be a defensive-minded coach. And offensively, he refuses to bench a quarterback that has had 8 interceptions and 0 touchdowns amid their 4-game losing streak. Bill Belichick would have been a much better hire for Atlanta, considering the expectations that they had of being able to win this division and compete in the postseason. I never understood why Arthur Blank didn't hire Bill Belichick. Oh, no. Let me take that back. I understand why he didn't hire Bill Belichick, because Bill Belichick is perceived to be a guy that is hard to work with. He's a guy that, he likes to have a lot of say, so he likes to have a lot of control, but I don't see anything wrong with that, because Terry Fontenot hasn't done a good job of assembling a lot of talent on the defense side of the football. If anything, if you're not going to fire Raheem Morris after this season, you definitely should fire Terry Fontenot. Because, the defense with, the talent that they're lacking at the edge rusher position and on their front seven is an issue that Bill Belichick could have easily solved during the offseason. I don't see what would have been wrong with the Atlanta Falcons surrendering a little bit of say-so to a guy that knows how to assemble a great team. Bill Belichick is more than just Tom Brady. Some of y'all like to try to diminish Bill Belichick's accomplishment because he had the greatest quarterback of all time, but who found the greatest quarterback of all time? Who drafted him? Who found Wes Welker? Who found Aaron Hernandez? Who found Rob Gronkowski? Bill Belichick has coached some of the greatest talents that has entered the NFL on both sides of the football over the last 2 decades. This dude knows more about football than me, you, and everybody else on this world, damn near combined. And you mean to tell me that you went with Raheem Morris because he was a little bit more likable? Some of the best guys at running companies are not always well liked by their employees. It's just that they know how to sustain and build a good company. Bill Belichick, a lot of those players after he got fired, not everybody was trashing him. And when that documentary came out, that Robert Kraft self-manufactured, trying to slander Bill Belichick and his success, a lot of former players like Julian Edelman and whatnot, they spoke out about how garbage it was. A lot of players thank Bill Belichick for what he meant to their career. Bill Belichick is one of those coaches that he drives a lot of players that had a lot of red flags character-wise, and they normally end up blossoming into good players. Bill Belichick, he's not a wash head coach. The problem is that, sometimes you get to a certain point in a relationship when it's just time to separate. And it was time for Bill Belichick to separate, just like how it was time for Andy Reid and the Philadelphia Eagles to separate. The Atlanta Falcons should have never hired Raheem Morris over Bill Belichick. That was the biggest mistake that they made this offseason. Hiring Bill Belichick was worse than them paying all that massive money to Kirk Cousins in free agency. So you got scammed by Raheem Morris as your head coach, and you got scammed by Kirk Cousins. Should have hired Bill Belichick. And I'm willing to die on that hill. I know a lot of y'all Falcons fans going to disagree with that. You're going to say, well, JT, where's Bill Belichick at now? If Bill Belichick wanted to coach, he could coach. He's just looking for the right situation that allows him to win. He's not trying to rebuild a team. That's why he's trying to go to college football now, because in college football with the transfer portal and NIL, you can just pay for a national championship team. If you would have hired Bill Belichick, he would have gave you the best chance to win. He knows how to win. Do you trust an 8-time Super Bowl champion more versus a guy who got fired who didn't win shit at Tampa Bay his first go around? They should have hired Bill Belichick. That was a huge mistake. When they hired Raheem Morris and I first saw the news pop up on my phone, I looked at it like, they hired who? Raheem Morris? Who? Over Bill Belichick? Huh?